So, you want to learn how to get jacked as a teenager? Well, if so, you've come to the right place because I'm going to give you a no BS actual guide on how to get jacked as a teenager. I'm going to give you all of the lessons that I've learned throughout the years that I've spent trying to transform my body. And I'm going to show you how to do it properly so you don't end up looking like this on your first bulk. And I can show you how to go from fat, skinny, or skinny fat to fit because I've pretty much been through all of these phases one time in my life. And finally, I'll show you how to build an aesthetic and strong physique so you can perform and look good at the same time. Alright, enough talking. Let's just get straight into this guide on how to actually get jacked as a teenager. First off, you need to decide whether to bulk or to cut. Now, I'll explain how to bulk and cut properly later, but firstly, you need to determine which one you are going to pick. And for the people a little more experienced in the realm of fitness who just really want to dial in that lean aesthetic physique, I'll give you some great tips on lean bulking, main gaining, and aggressive cutting in just a second. Now, if you're like me when I was a little younger and you have a pretty high body fat percentage, you should definitely cut. However, if you're like me a little later on in life and pretty skinny, you should probably start bulk. But if you're like me when I first started taking working out seriously and had a skinny fat build, it's pretty much when you have a little belly but you also look pretty small at the same time. I would definitely recommend to cut off that extra body fat, then start bulking. Alright, since we've gone over the main basics on what action to take based on your current body type, here's an actual step for you. Now, I like to include these actual steps because I actually want to provide value in this video. Now, I don't make videos just for freaking audience retention or whatever, just for you to be entertained and just do this self-improvement circle jerk off. I actually want you to improve, bro. So let's give you an actual step real quick. But the actionable step is to decide whether you are going to bulk or cut today. Set it in stone, write it on a piece of paper, do whatever you have to do to make sure you're gonna stick with it. And if you're already on a bulk or a cut, make a decision to stay loyal to until you achieve whatever goals at the end of it. But now, let's just go over how to cut properly so you can get off that extra bit of body fat. I'll explain how to bulk in just a second, but firstly, let's get into how to cut properly to build that aesthetic physique. So the first step is to figure out how many calories you need to eat to sustainably lose weight. I use the calorie calculator on calculator.net to figure out my maintenance level of calories. It also tells you the level of calories you need to lose weight. For beginners, I would try the mild weight loss and the zigzag diet schedule. I actually really like the zigzag diet schedule, but make sure you select the second version of it because the first one ends up being hella miserable on weekdays. Although there is many other options, you don't have to use the zigzag diet schedule. There's another one called refeeds. You could do one refeed day every 2 weeks, which is a day where you eat a lot more food, carbs specifically, like bread, pasta, etc., to refuel energy on the cut. But keep in mind, on other days you will have to lower your calories a little bit more since you had that one day where you ate a little bit more than the others. And by the way, on a refeed day, you usually eat around 300 to 600 more calories than usual, pretty much all carbs extra though. Once you're a little bit more experienced in dieting, you can try the regular weight loss schedule, or extreme if very experienced. Even I struggled to do that one though. However, if you cut quickly, you have the risk of losing some muscle as well. So when you're cutting, I'd recommend trying to cut pretty slowly with a small calorie deficit. However, cutting quickly can still be very useful though. Let's say you're very experienced in fitness and you've been bulking for a while. If you want to cut that little extra body fat, you can do an aggressive cut to quickly get rid of that extra body fat. And boom, it'll only take a couple of weeks and you can get right back to the bulk to start gaining muscle again. And of course, make sure you're eating 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And of course, a lot of people say that you only have to eat 0.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight. But me personally, I like to make sure I'm getting all of my protein in and maximizing my gain. So that's why I eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And also make sure you're eating 30 plus grams of protein 1 to 4 hours after a workout, cardio, or gym. Also, make sure you're training just as hard as you would on a bulk or any other stage of lifting. And if you're feeling a little less energetic, consider buying a pre-workout or By the way, I'll talk more on training styles later in the video, like how many days a week you should train, how long you should train, etc. And yes, make sure you're including cardio on the cut. Some say the calorie deficit and the diet is more important, which I agree with. However, cardio helps you maintain your weight loss and not regain weight. So that's why I always like to include cardio sometime within my week. And I play sports, soccer specifically, football I like to call it, but that's pretty much my cardio that I do. Now you can do maybe 3 to 4 4 cardio sessions per week for 30 minutes, and you probably should do them after your workout to make your workout your priority. And as far as what you should be eating on a cut, here's what I would say you should eat. Try and eat very satiating foods like potatoes, vegetables, meats, etc. And also prioritize your protein intake, so eat high protein foods like protein shakes, meat, etc. Finally, where I like to track my protein and my calories is MyFitnessPal, Yazoo, and there's a bunch of other great apps as well. And yes, you can also have a little freedom in your diet every now and then, but don't go too overboard with it. Alright, since we've gone over a full overview on how to cut properly, let's move into how to bulk the best way possible. In this section, we're going to be focusing on lean bulking. If you don't know what lean bulking is, it's pretty much eating cleaner foods. And yes, you can have the occasional high-calorie snack or treat, and going slightly above your maintenance calories by 200 to 300 calories more. So you won't have to painstakingly consume 3 jars of peanut butter to fit your 4,000 calorie goal at 3 a.m. in the morning. Also, when your progress starts to slow a little bit and you're stuck at a certain weight, you can increase the calories a bit, maybe by 100 calories to start gaining weight again. And yes, I would still also recommend doing cardio during a lean bulk because it helps you maintain your low body fat percentage. This prevents you from having to cut so much, and also because Sam Sulek said so.
The worst case scenario is just not doing it at all.
And you can still use the site I mentioned before, calorie calculator at calculator.net, to calculate your maintenance and a mild weight gain, which is a lean bulk. If you consider yourself to be a hard gainer, which is pretty much a person who has a high metabolism and finds it hard to gain some weight, I will recommend you increase your surplus if you aren't seeing results by extra 200 to 300 calories. And also, if you're struggling to hit your calorie goal, you can implement some high calorie foods more often. But do not use this as an excuse to get fat like me and eat a crap ton of food. And I don't even have a high metabolism. I'm just making excuses. But let's move on to the next point. And as far as the foods you should be eating, here's what I would recommend you eat on a bulk. I would recommend pasta, higher calorie meats like beef and salmon instead of chicken breast, bulking protein shakes, higher calorie vegetables, dairy, and eggs. I love eggs, by the way. Let me tell you, I eat like 8 eggs every day regardless I'm on a bulk or a cut. Eggs are literally like a cheat code for me, and it literally helped me gain so much muscle. You don't want to risk the high cholesterol, I completely understand that. But no kidding, eggs are an absolute cheat code, so enjoy some eggs more often, bro. And finally, some other great foods to eat on a bulk are peanut butter and nuts. And by the way, yes, make sure you're getting all your protein in as well on a bulk, 1 gram per pound of body weight. And I forgot to mention so far, there's also a third way of building muscle called main gain. Now, I'll go over this shortly, but pretty much what main gaining is eating your maintenance level calories with the intent to build muscle and lower body fat. Coach Greg recommends this a lot, and I do believe it worked pretty well and helped me gain a little bit of muscle whilst also losing some body fat. But I think that lean bulking and properly cutting lead to more muscular growth in the end. However, if you're at an ideal body weight and you just want to lean out and get stronger at that weight, it's a great choice. Also, regardless if you're a bulk on a cut or your main gaining, make sure you're training with intensity. Speaking of training, let's get into arguably the most important part of this video: how to train to build an aesthetic physique. The first thing that I would like to mention that is key to an aesthetic physique is the V-taper. Now, if you watched my old sorta crappy videos, you would realize that the V-taper is pretty much what makes your physique aesthetic. A short explanation of it is that it's pretty much a body shape that resembles a V-shape, kind of like a Dorito. Anyways, that body shape is seen as aesthetic and attractive. Most people that you probably want to look like have a similar physique, whether it be David Lade, Baki, Brad Pitt, Goku, etc. The key muscles that make up this physique are the shoulders, lats, abs, and your chest. Now, there are many different training splits which you can use to target these muscles 1 to 2 times a week. But a great example workout split is push-pull legs. Some variations include push-pull legs rest, push-pull legs rest, or for more experienced lifters, push-pull legs rest, depending on how many days of rest you would like to have in your training routine. Now, of course, there's many other different workout routines and exercises to include in your own training. So if you ever need help, I do offer fitness coaching. I can help you with a full workout plan based on your goals and equipment, a diet plan personalized for you, tips, keep you on track, and more. Not forcing it on you, but if you're interested, you can book a call with the link in my channel's bio. But anyways, let's just get straight back into the video. Alright, some great exercises that I use to target my chest on push days would be the barbell bench, incline dumbbell bench, incline or machine chest flies, flat dumbbell bench, and dips. Some great exercises to target shoulders would be lateral raises, rear delt flies, and shoulder press. Finally, some great tricep exercises to include on push days are skull crushers, tricep pushdowns, and also dips, since they train both chest and triceps. Now, moving on to a pull day. You should focus on lat growth and width. So, firstly, I would include some pull-ups and lat pull-downs. Then, rowing movements like chest-supported dumbbell rows, T-bar rows, one-arm rows, and also cable rows. Then accessory movements like Y raises and shrugs. Also, make sure to include bicep exercises on back days, like standing dumbbell curls, chin-ups, hammer curls, and incline dumbbell curls. Finally, leg day. Now, I know some of you are or will be certified leg day skippers sometime in the future, but me personally, I definitely don't want to look like this, so stop being a you-know-what and hit legs! Alright, now since I gave you some motivation, let's go into how to hit legs properly. Now, for leg days, I like to take things a little different and train for strength and power. Instead of doing the usual 8 to 12 reps, I go anywhere from 4 to 8 to 8 to 12 reps. Some great exercises for legs are squats, RDLs, deadlifts, leg extensions, leg curls, Bulgarian split squats, sprints, and plyometrics for athleticism. Now, as for some accessory movements that I haven't yet mentioned yet, are neck curls. Now, trust me on this one. Some people say you don't have to do neck exercises, but I preach doing neck exercises. They do make you look a whole lot more masculine and overall make your physique look a tiny bit more rounded. So I definitely say they're worth the 5 to 10 minutes of training 2 times a week. Now, as for another accessory muscle, let's go for the abs. I like to do primarily hanging leg raises and sometimes bicycle crunches. I usually hit abs 2 to 3 times a week for 10 to 15 minutes. Now, finally, let's move into the volume and intensity of your workout. Now, me personally, I prefer intensity. You don't need to go crazy and do a 40-set workout for growth. All you really need is 5 to 6 exercises with 2 to 3 sets per exercise, taken till failure or very close to it. I found that this style of training helped me grow the most and also made me waste a lot less time and energy at the gym. This allowed me to have a lot more energy and time for other things in my life like soccer, so I'm not just laying in the bed all day. And also, for whatever split you choose when building muscle, make sure you're going to the gym 4 to 6 times a week for optimal muscular growth. And you're in the gym for about an hour to an hour and 30 minutes per session. I use kind of a modified personal version of push-pull legs right now, but for beginners, I would just recommend a simple push-pull leg split or upper-lower or anything like that works great, or the one that I recommended in the video. Yep, and that's pretty much all the information that I have in this video. By the way, I just wanted to thank you so much for your support, and 2,000